We're talking with Sue Hunt with the Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Atlanta, and Rick Alembic, an attorney in Decatur, Georgia. And Sue, I would imagine people get so overwhelmed with this kind of problems that they wait till the last moment to call. Probably not a good time.
Well, no, really the best time for people to call is as soon as they're having some trouble paying the very first bill. And even if that's just the minimum payment on their Discover bill or one of their other credit cards, what they need to do is pick up the phone and talk to somebody at a nonprofit counseling agency like ours, where we'll go through their budget, we'll look at their credit cards, we'll look at all of their debts, and we'll help them set priorities. And the idea behind that is keeping them from falling behind on the most important thing that they need to keep up to date on, which is their home, so that they always have a place to come home to, and their kids have a place to come home to.
Right. And Rick, as an attorney, you probably get a lot of phone calls on the Monday before the Tuesday where the foreclosure is going to take place at the courthouse steps. Not a good time to be calling the lawyer.
Not a good time these days. In the old days, before the 2005 amendments to the bankruptcy code, it was fairly easy to send someone to a bankruptcy attorney to file a petition, the Monday before the cry on the courthouse steps. Nowadays, the laws are more restrictive. You actually have to have completed a course in consumer finance before you even have the right to file the bankruptcy petition. So a lot of people don't realize that you can no longer wait to the last minute to seek something like bankruptcy relief or something maybe short of bankruptcy. You have to plan it, well in advance to do it properly.
And I know, Sue, at Consumer Credit Counseling Services, you do provide some of this counseling that Rick mentioned that is required for before you file the bankruptcy.
Right, that's one of our main services is we provide thousands of counseling sessions every month to consumers across the United States that are getting ready to file for bankruptcy.
Are we talking about a series of courses? What are we talking about?
We're talking basically about a budget counseling session where we look at their budget, we look at their debts, we talk about other alternatives that might exist to bankruptcy to make sure that that's the best decision for them to make before we issue the certificate that says that they have had that education before they can talk to the attorney.
And how long does this process take?
Usually that's about 45 minutes to an hour on a telephone counseling session.
So it's a one-time counseling
And it's a one-time session.
And it has to be live? Can you do it?
We are actually at CCCS, we do a lot of our bankruptcy counseling online. Consumers can go to our website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And give me that website.
www.cccsinc.org.
Okay, and we'll put it up on the screen so everybody can have it, and so they can access some of these programs through your website.
Right, they go online, they chat with an online counselor, they do their counseling session, and they get their certificate within 24 hours.
Okay. Now, Rick, let's say that they call you the last moment, and what can you do to stop a foreclosure?
Well, there's two options. One, you can try to go to a Superior Court judge to enjoin the foreclosure itself. And more often than not, we're hired too late, or we're hired at a situation where we simply can't do it without putting all the requisite paperwork together. More often than not, we end up filing what is called a suit for wrongful foreclosure. Those cases involve situations where the lender has somehow abused its privilege, the power of sale, we call it. And a lot of times if they haven't advertised properly, or if they somehow, we call it chilled the sale, chilled the bid on the courthouse steps, those are sort of the legal theories that we might be able to use to get the foreclosure reversed.
But this is happening after the foreclosure
It's
took
after
place.
the foreclosure. The other problem is if the court reverses the foreclosure for those types of technical reasons, all the lender has to do is go back and advertise for 4 weeks and do it again. But the advantage is at least we have gotten the lender's attention. We've bought a little bit more time for the client either to work things out or go ahead and bite the bullet and pursue bankruptcy as sort of the final option.
Okay. Now, foreclosures in Georgia happen the first Tuesday of every month. So let's assume that the foreclosure happens. How much time before that person is evicted?
If you'd asked me that question 2 years ago, my answer would be a lot different. And now I would say it's going on 2 to 3 months before the foreclosure, before the dispossessories are being filed.
Okay.
A couple years ago, it was fairly quick. It was within a matter of weeks.
All right. Now, Sue, from from the Consumer Credit Counseling Services point of view, I mean, are you seeing a delay or a lag time in the time to initiate foreclosure proceedings between
Yeah,
the time?
typically what we use, and again, we used to, 2 years ago, if somebody was pushing 3 months late on their mortgage payment, we told them time was of the essence. They needed to move very quickly. We still tell people to move very quickly, but practically speaking, we're seeing that the foreclosure paperwork and such is taking longer to process. And we suspect that's just due to the huge demand that lenders and servicers and investors are having to deal with.
It all comes down to volume.
It comes down to that.
But let me just butt in. One key component to the dispossessory issue and buying time after the foreclosure is that someone actually needs to be living in the house. If you don't have a tenant in the house or a human being living in the house, then the banks can literally just change the locks and walk in after the foreclosure. Legally, they can do that unless someone is living in the home.
Right.
So just
Now,
keep that in mind.
Rick, legally in Georgia, how much time before a lender can foreclose on a property from the time you start making payments?
If it's a minute late, they can begin initiating the foreclosure proceedings. It's a strict construction situation.
And what is that period of time that they have to, in order to proceed with a foreclosure?
It's a matter of timing. The minimum is 30 days. 30 days notice
Because they
has
have
to
to
be
publish.
provided to the borrower, but then the lender has to advertise 4 weeks, straight before they foreclose the property on the courthouse steps. So depending on the timing, it could be a month or it could be 2 months, depending on the timing.
Right.
30 days in the month.
And we have a lot of people that come from other states where they have judicial foreclosures. They have to file a lawsuit, go to a court. In Georgia, we don't have that.
We don't have that. I believe we're in the minority on that, and it catches quite a few people by surprise. Not just in the areas of foreclosure. There are a lot of other areas where the consumer protection laws are much weaker than they are in other states. And I'll have a lot of clients from, say, New York, who are just surprised by how quickly a lender will come in and take over their home, or some other situation will present itself where normally they're accustomed to there being more protection, but there's not. Georgia's fairly sparse in terms of its consumer protection laws.
Okay. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to be coming back in about a minute.